Welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something really cool. We are going to deconstruct the literal physics of language. We're going to unpack the universal mechanics of systemic functional linguistics, specifically zeroing in on the groundbreaking framework from Halliday and Hassan's cohesion in English. So if you're a cognitive scientist or a linguist, and you've ever wondered how the human brain actually stitches abstract symbols into a living, breathing matrix of meaning, well, you are in the exact right place. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for mapping out the architecture of language today. We'll cover the illusion of clarity, redefine the text as a semantic unit, and explore the focusing lens. Then, we'll analyze texture and rhythm, decode the cohesion matrix, and finally, look at total architecture. Let's get started.
Section 1. The illusion of clarity. We're moving beyond the wireframe.
You know, most of us just assume language is basically a stack of grammatically correct sentences. But here's the thing. Grammar is really just a wireframe. So what actually transforms a random sequence of sentences into a functioning text? What's the invisible glue holding all that data together? Let's look at a concrete example to see what I mean.
Consider this isolated sentence pulled directly from our source material. Give it a close read. Grammatically, it's an absolute masterpiece, right? It's got a subject, a verb, a highly descriptive prepositional phrase. But as a language analyst looking at this, you are completely in the dark. To what? Rolled off of what? It turns out perfect grammar is profoundly unhelpful when it just exists in a vacuum.
So while it's lexicogrammatically flawless, this sentence is a symbolic representation that is completely out of focus. It is semantically full of holes. Because we are missing the cohesive ties, that crucial environmental continuity, we have absolutely no idea how to process it. It's literally like looking at a stunning, high-resolution photograph where the lens is just completely out of focus.
That brings us to Section 2, Text as Semantic Unit. Time to redefine discourse.
To really grasp this, we have to stop looking at language purely through the lens of structural size. So, the crucial point is that a text is not a grammatical unit. It's not just some giant super sentence. According to Halliday and Hassan, a text is actually a semantic unit. It's a unified realization of meaning within a specific context of situation. The sentences, they're merely the medium we use to get there.
And the objective manifestation of that semantic unity? That's what we call texture. Think of texture as the actual fabric of language. It gets created when cohesive ties stretch across sentence boundaries, expressing continuity. It's exactly what tells your brain, hey, these sentences aren't just an isolated inventory of words. They are interdependent parts of a single, functioning organism.
Section 3, the focusing lens. Let's look at how we actually decode meaning in real time.
So how exactly do we decode the semantic unity on the fly? Well, Halliday uses a brilliant analogy for this. He argues that lexicogrammar, the pure structure of words and syntax, only presents a blurred symbolic representation. It's cohesion that acts as a literal focusing lens. When your brain hears a phrase like "to" rolling off it, it immediately generates queries. Cohesion steps in, supplies the missing environment, like say a previous sentence mentioning apples on a table, and boom, instantly, the lens snaps into place, bringing the whole semantic picture into sharp relief.
Section 4, Texture and Rhythm. Let's talk about density and pacing.
Now, texture isn't just a simple on or off switch, and this slide brilliantly illustrates what we call contrapunctal rhythm. See the vertical lines? Those represent physical paragraph breaks, basically the rhythm of the eye. But look at the wavy lines. Those represent the density of semantic cohesive ties. Master authors will intentionally extend dense, tight cohesion right across a visual paragraph boundary, while leaving the internal texture of a paragraph completely loose. It's a gorgeous system where they are actively syncing semantic rhythm against visual structure.
Authors can also manipulate this architecture by creating imaginary texture. This is a truly fascinating cognitive mechanic, where a writer initiates a discourse with unresolved presuppositions. By referencing something that hasn't actually been established yet, they force the reader to actively search for meaning. It creates an immediate illusion of solidarity. Basically, it assumes a shared experience that doesn't actually exist to instantly pull you inside the narrative.
A perfect example of this is the opening line of Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. It reads, "One thing was certain, that the white kitten had had nothing to do with it." Notice that cataphoric "it." We are just thrown right into the middle of a conversation. We don't actually find out until 2 paragraphs later that it refers to unwinding a ball of wool. This false cohesion forces the reader's brain to track forward, cementing total immersion in the text.
Section 5, the cohesion matrix. Time to zoom in on the subatomic particles.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can classify the three primary dimensions of cohesive relations. The linguistic physics beneath the surface basically divide into three main buckets: relatedness of reference, relatedness of form, and semantic connection. Let's break these down one by one.
First up is relatedness of reference. This establishes continuity through identity or comparison, and it operates purely at the semantic level, meaning it's not about the specific words used, but the meaning behind them. It requires co-interpretation. You literally cannot interpret the meaning of a pronoun like he or it without referencing an outside situational element, which we call exophoric, or a previous text element, which is endophoric.
Next, we have substitution and ellipsis, representing relatedness of form. Now, unlike reference, this operates strictly at the level of wording, usually in an environment of contrast, like saying, "I want a square one," instead of repeating the word teapot. Ellipsis takes this a step further by utilizing substitution by zero. It physically drops words out of structural slots on the page, leaving an empty space that preserves the grammatical frame while placing maximum rhetorical focus entirely on the new information. It's super efficient.
The third dimension is conjunction. Conjunction is really unique because it is non-phoric. It doesn't point backward or forward to recover a specific missing item. Instead, it specifies logical, semantic relationships between whole passages of text. It can be external, linking real-world ideational events like a timeline, or internal, linking steps in a speaker's interpersonal argument.
Section 6, Total Architecture. Let's see how this all builds a fully operational discourse.
Now that we've isolated all the variables, let's move to and see how this builds total architecture. Because cohesion alone is necessary, for sure, but it's not sufficient. For language to become a fully operational reality, three distinct layers absolutely must interact. You have the intersentence cohesion we just mapped out, bound to the intersentence structure inside the clause, like theme and rame. And finally, it's all governed by discourse macrostructure, which includes overarching cultural genre patterns. Only when these three integrate do you achieve total texture.
Which leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought to consider. Think about your own interactions today. How much of your daily communication relies entirely on the imaginary texture of shared, unspoken contexts? We often assume we're just transmitting perfect grammar to one another, but in reality, we are relying on an invisible physics of cohesive ties and shared environments to make our meanings clear. Understanding this architecture fundamentally changes how we view literally every conversation we have. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep looking for the invisible ties that bind our words together.